a quick question about the Italian Art Nouveau.
Yes.
We see that a lot less than the French. And I know we have some in the museum collection, but are there as many examples out there? Is that something that's harder to find?
Well, as you know, that's a trick question. The answer is yeah, it's infinitely rarer. The French saved everything, and the Italians saved nothing. The idea being that the French were pounding their drum all across the globe, and the idea that this was a revolutionary art form, which it was, that it was going to change the world, which it did, and that they were the innovators of this new exploration in the world of art, which was true. The Italians did a better job, in my opinion, but they had David. Do you know what I mean? Like they in a lot of ways, I remember being in Italy, and I spent a couple weeks there going around to the antique dealers. This is decades ago, and asking them if they could get any of this. They call it Liberty style, steel Liberté. And asking them if they could get any of this, because I was trying to find this work.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them looked at me like I was a buffoon. It was I had gone in and asked if they could get me like an A-team lunchbox. And it was like, we don't have any of that, but we have this 14th century urn. Or I remember once someone had a kneeling thing, like someone would have had in their home. And I remember it just everything being 400 years old. And at the time I was asking for something that was just a century old. And that trip did not produce anything of value. So most of the pieces that you actually do find in other countries, because, for example, if you were an American collector and you bought an opera poster, a theater poster, this ink poster, something like that, you would have saved it. Italy had 2 brutal world wars. When the fascists, I'm stammering over my tongue, when the fascists came into power, they burned everything that suggested opulence. Then you had the incredible Italian futurism in the 30s. And then when they fell out of power, then all of that got burned. So just on all counts, the Italian work, whether it was produced in whatever quantity is not what's up for debate. What is the fact that's relevant today is that regardless of how much is produced, with any of these posters, it's extremely reasonable to assume that there are fewer than 5 copies in existence. Whereas with the French posters, it's extremely reasonable to assume that there are hundreds of copies. And in some cases, thousands when you get into ones from the 20s. And the reason, just so I can clarify that, is that some countries, like a Dutch poster, for example, they might have not had the same problem with things being burned or destroyed in war, but they definitely made far fewer. With the Italians, I'm not sure how much they made. It could have been that they made quite a bit, but we do know today that when you see a rare Italian poster, it's extremely likely that there are fewer than 5.